what started that phrase? I just thought.
Like, I'm going to send you to Timbuktu. I think it's just a faraway place that sounds cool.
Okay.
Sounds funny. I don't know.
I mean, I can say I can send you to China, right? Like, it's far away.
Yeah, but it doesn't sound as cool as Timbuktu.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you could be like, I'm going to send you to Australia, but that sounds awesome. Like, all right, I'm cool.
Send me. Sign me up.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Just thought. If anybody knows the story of how this saying started, I don't know.
We could Google it if we want to.
Let me know.
I don't know if we care
Yeah,
enough.
no, I mean, I know I could Google it, but I'm just starting to start a conversation. You just completely forget the whole point of this.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. I mean, I can just live by Google. You know, I don't need human interaction. I can just Google everything. Like, what do I need to talk to you? I can just have a conversation with Google. That's pretty much what you just said.
Did I just trigger you?
No, you just said that. Like,
just Google it already. God, that's not what I meant. I was just saying we
that's
could
what
find
you
out.
meant.
That's not. I don't want to talk to you about it. I'm saying we could find out though.
I didn't say you necessarily have to talk to me about it.
I'm saying because sometimes I sit here and forget.
Yeah, I know I can look it up, but I don't want to look it up. I would like for somebody to just kind of.
What if you had the chip in your brainstem and you could just get it without having to look it up? Would you look it up?
No, I think this is going to sound really controversial, but I think I'll just ask the Lord to just take me before that happens. I don't want to have a chip in my brain. Thank you very much. The Creator made me just the way I am. I don't want to be.
You don't want to become one with the machines? I don't
want to become a machine. I don't think that's the end result of what the good Lord wanted for my life.
Okay.
So, if there's ever a time that you just kind of say, "Take me, Jesus," that would be the one time.
When they start handing out the microchips.
Yep. Be like, "No, I'm out. See ya."
Yeah.
I don't know. Sorry if that hurt somebody's feelings or I don't know.
No, I mean, I don't want it either.
I don't have all the answers, just saying.
Yeah.
You don't want it either, but you would take it? Is that what you're saying?
I'm not saying I would take it. Depends what it is. Depends, I don't know. If it's the mark of the beast, then no. I'm not taking it.
In other news.
Yeah.
How's your day been?
We were drinking coffee and eating bagels.
Yeah.
And I
just thought about it. I was like, why didn't we think about naming a podcast like Coffee and Bagels? That would be cool. That's a cool name, no? Maybe it's too coffee shoppy?
Yeah, I mean, you could go that route, You could go that route. I feel like a lot of people have gone that route.
Like a New York style little.
Because then it's about the coffee and the bagels. And it's like every time you come to the podcast, it's like, I have to. Like, I always want to have coffee anyway, but then it's like a thing where you have to.
I like coffee. I like bagels.
I don't want to be restricted, I want to be free.
I get it.
I get it, though. It works. It makes sense.
Let's be family. That's what it is about.
Yeah, it's about family. Which is why I'm going to share something that's kind of a deep, dark secret that I'm going to share.
Deep, dark secret. Okay.
Because we're all family. We're family. So... I like to dip my bagels in my coffee. and I feel like it's gross.
Not everybody does that, yeah.
I feel like it's gross. It sounds gross.
Well, when you have a everything bagel, I can see how some people can think that it's gross because all those seeds are
and
just
the little
going
sesame
to the
seeds
bottom
and stuff
of your,
fall off. But when you have an everything bagel, one side of the bagel has all the stuff on it and the other side is clean.
Mm-hmm.
So you can dip the clean side in the coffee and you don't get the leftover residue.
What did the other one ever did to you not to dip it?
No, I mean, I'm saying you can, but if you don't want to get the stuff, the leave behinds in your drink, then you could just do it on the other side. But so the gross part, I think, though, or like what people are going to think is gross is the fact, I mean, it's buttered. I do buttered bagels.
So, I mean, I don't think so because I think these days there's people who put butter in their coffee.
Yeah. And I've done it when I was, back when I was doing like the hardcore carnivore stuff.
Yeah.
Then, I would do butter in my coffee because you couldn't have any sugar.
So what does the butter do to your coffee? It makes it creamier or something? Yeah.
So the thing is, I think people put butter in their coffee, not even like okay, I think a lot of people do it not for the taste, but because they're trying to find ways to get more fat in their diet. Because when you're eating on carnivore, you need to make sure there's a certain ratio of protein to fat that becomes important for you to have like the optimal function of body and health. Yeah, be healthy and all that. So there's so some people struggle with getting enough fat. So they'll cook with tallow, or they'll cook with beef. It's beef tallow. It's like rendered beef fat.
Yeah.
So they'll cook with things, or they'll do bacon and that kind of stuff that's fattier to try to get enough fat in their diet. So one of the things people will do, like they're going to drink coffee in the morning rather than drink it black, they'll just put some butter in it, and it's a way to get some extra, stuff in your body.
Gotcha.
But also, I found I liked it better than drinking it black. It wasn't that different, but if I had to choose between black coffee and coffee with butter in it, I would take the butter. I'd put the butter in it because it makes it a little smoother, a little creamier. It takes a bit of the edge off.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah, I've never been a black coffee drinker.
Yeah, I can do it, but I won't do it because I don't
unless
think there's a point.
And I don't even think that's considered like black coffee, but unless it's café de olla, because the way you fix that coffee, it has cinnamon in it.
Cinnamon.
And you don't add anything. It just has that sweetness of the cinnamon, and it's like amazing.
Yeah, it's cool. I've never been a fan of it. I don't know. I
wanted to be a fan of it. Because you've never had the experiences.
I did.
So it's attached with the experiences, I think, for me. So that's what we would drink that a lot when we would go to like summer camps and stuff like that. And it was always like, it's always correlated with that feeling of like,
it's nostalgia. Takes you back.
Nostalgia. Do you love that word?
Apparently, I must have just totally missed this trend. A lot of people dip Kit Kats in coffee. You ever heard of that?
No.
I found out like that came up immediately. Like, what do people dip in coffee? And Kit Kats was like number 4 or 5 on the list.
Wow.
So
this is gotta be grosser than yours. So there's this candy in Mexico called, I forgot the name of it. I'm trying to remember because I have the picture of it and I'm trying to think of what it's in Spanish. It's basically like a lollipop, right? Mm-hmm. It's just candy, like hard candy, but it has gum inside of it. I would dip that in coffee.
So here's the thing: if somebody saw you doing that in public, they'd make fun of you. Yeah, they would judge
me. Yeah.
I think we all have those things probably when it comes to food, things that we don't let other people see, but when we're alone, when
we're alone, we turn into monsters. Just kidding. I like to dip cookies in tea. I don't think people do that.
Cookies in tea?
Yes. Wow. Chamomile tea. And then you have some sugar cookies. Oh, so good. We have this ricanelas. They're cookies in Mexico, and they're sugar cookies, but they have a cinnamon taste. Mm-hmm. And I loved dipping them in chamomile tea.
Okay. I mean, I could see that.
Also, galletas Maria, like the Goya cookies too. Like those are awesome in tea too. Mm-hmm.
I think the best thing is...
The best thing? I know what it is.
What is the best thing?
The best thing to do is have a concha and dip it in chocolate.
Oh, I don't think I've ever done that. That is
the best thing ever.
I've eaten lots of conchas, but I don't think I've ever had them with hot chocolate.
It's so good. You get chocolate abuelita. Mm-hmm. That's the, that bitter chocolate that's like thick. Mm-hmm. Oh, even eating it by itself is so good. So good.
Chocolate?
Yes. Like the bars, like growing up, I would eat a whole chocolate.
Mm. But yeah, I think what I like the best is Oreos in coffee.
Oreos in coffee? I don't think I've ever had that.
And I found this out as an adult, like barely, like within the last couple years, I'd say, that you put a fork through the cream.
So there's like
on the Oreo.
Specific strategy.
Yeah, you put the fork through the cream and then you can dip it in the coffee, and then you don't lose the cookie because the coffee's hot and Oreos are pretty delicate. So you hold it and you want to dip as much of the cookie in there as you can. You know what I mean? Because you want the maximum coffee to cookie ratio. You know? Yeah.
I get
so you but sometimes you dip it in there a little bit too long and your cookie falls apart and it ends up in the bottom of your cup.
Yeah, but then you drink your cup and it's like, the goodie there.
It's still
the
good.
Goodie there. Exactly.
But
isn't that all part of the experience?
Yeah. But you put it on the fork and you could dunk the whole cookie.
You dunk the whole thing.
It's perfect. It's absolutely perfect.
Dunk it down.
Yeah. So every once in a while, I gotta get some Oreos and a cup of coffee. Every once in a while. But yeah.
Interesting. That's okay.
Yeah, it's good.
Oh, you know what I love? Dipping. Oh, tacos de birria and consomme. Oh my goodness. Like, that is a whole other experience. And if you're Mexican, you know. Yeah. It was so good.
Yeah, it's incredible.
It's like the sweet taco and the meat, and then just the taste of the juice, which is the consomme or the broth, whatever you want to call it.
The broth. Yeah, it's the same idea as when you have like a French dip. So it's like the sandwich with the shredded beef, and then you dip it in
bread.
They call it au jus. Yeah, but I'm saying it's the same idea. Mm-hmm. Tortilla is just a different kind of bread. I mean, it's not bread. It comes from.
How dare you call tortillas bread?
Well, either it comes from flour or corn, right?
Yeah.
So I've got a random question for you.
Okay.
I was listening to a podcast recently, and they were talking about something similar to this, not exactly this, but it made me think, and I think this is a more interesting question. Mm-hmm. So it's 2024. Yeah, it is. Pretty sure. I got that one. I nailed that one. It's 2024. When we think back to music from the 50s and 60s, and we think about the Beatles, and we think about Elvis, and we think about, very, very iconic people, we look back and we say, like, this is classic music.
Nostalgic music.
Nostalgic music. Yeah. So but it's revered in a certain way, right?
Yeah.
Like, we look back on music like that very, very fondly.
Yeah, in their era.
So do you think 70 years from now,
oh no,
people are going to be looking back on the music from today? So like, say, like the 2010s, 2020s, like, people are going to be looking back in 60, 70 years, and they're going to look back and even like remember. This is what I'm just wondering, because I don't know, because people have changed.
Yeah.
People are different now than they were back then. Obviously they're going to be different, in the future. But I was just thinking about this, and I don't know. I think it's an interesting thing to think about. Like, are people going to, even let's just say 50 years from now, are they going to look back on today's music, and like, is anybody going to be listening to Taylor Swift in 50 years? Is anybody going to be listening to like, who else is big? I don't know, like
Sabrina Carpenter
or
Olivia Rodrigo.
Yeah. Like, is any of this music going to hold up over time is what I'm wondering.
I don't think so. I think that that's just,
or does all this
blank statement.
Does all this get bypassed, and are they still thinking about Elvis in 50 years? Are they still thinking about the Beatles in 50 years?
So I think that there's a reason why there's still music from the 80s and the 70s and the 50s. They're still being made to the genre styles of today as covers, because they're still like iconic in their time and in their season. So people are attached to it. It's funny you say that, because Elijah was telling me the other day, he was asking me, or we were having this conversation. He said, so people in like older people or seniors, when they are in the, what do they call it? Like the
twilight?
No.
Golden years?
If they're like in a nursing home.
Oh.
I forgot the name. He's like, so elderly people in nursing homes listen to music of their age, their era. So he was like, I don't know if when we are in a nursing home, or when I'm in that age, that I will be listening to music of my era. I don't know. I wonder. He said that too. So I was like, I just don't see it. I feel like music of today, it's very commercial. They give you what they think you want to hear, what you're going to buy into it. And I don't think there's a lot of brains behind it. I feel horrible to say that, but I just don't think that there's a whole lot of thought I think the thought is more put into
the marketing
area, and like how to make money. Like that's the machine. You keep feeding the machine, keep the machine selling. I don't think that was the same mindset when music was made back in the day. I think even songs have gotten shorter. So they're like short takes.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like quick, get to the point and get out of it. And let's move on to the next one.
Yeah, because I mean, that's all we can handle. Because I mean, even if you like the song, it just gets repetitive because so much of the just commercialized music today is, I mean, it's more about the beat and the feel and maybe what they're singing about, but not so much the lyrics. Like a lot of songs out there. Now, there are artists, like I think an artist that I look at is Adele. So I think Adele.
Oh, I think her songs will carry on. I think her songs will be.
But there's other people we can put in that same conversation. But with Adele, because her lyrics are deep and they're meaningful. And like the party culture music that's out there and like just all this stuff, it's like, okay, you're singing about the same stupid garbage over and over again. And it's like, is there any meaning behind it? It's like, hype people up and whatever, but it's not deep, it's not meaningful. I think it's more so the meaningful stuff that carries on, that can kind of span through generations. And unfortunately, because of the way that music is so commercialized, there's incredible artists out there that we're never gonna get to hear because they're not part of the commercial music machine. So they might have a great following, but they're never going to be mainstream, and so it's going to be hard for that music to get carried on, other than like what you said, where as you get older, it's like you connect with music. Like I think I'll probably be in my 70s and still listening to music that I listened to in high school.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I will. But my kids probably won't be listening to, they might be going back to music that they listened to in high school.
Yeah.
But then, so eventually it almost like dies out with the generation, unless you have that kind of transcendent artist of the day that spans on. So I wonder, because
you're wondering which of the artists of today will be transcendent back in 10, 15 years. I don't know. I don't have a pick for it.
I feel like within certain genres that there's going to be stuff that's produced today that might carry on, just because you have an appreciation, I think, for the artistry more so. So I think, like, for example, in the hardcore or the metal scene, we listen to there's an affinity, I think, for people that are really into the scene, for a lot of the bands from like the 80s and the 90s that kind of started the punk movement and that were at the forefront of even the emo culture and that kind of stuff. And we look back on that today, like 30, 40 years later, and we can still vibe to it or whatever. We can still get into it. We can still listen to it. We whatever. I feel like there's music today that's being created within that genre that people 50 years from now, they'll still be able to go back to. But the thing that I have a hard time wrapping my mind around is the difference in music from even the 90s to today. There's a lot of differences. So or if we go back, let's go back further. We go back to the 60s and 70s, 50s, 60s, 70s, when like rock and roll was, taking the world by storm. And there were all these new, it was a very new style of music that was created, and a very new way of playing instruments. And I don't know, I wonder, like, so 50 years from now, is there anywhere else to go? Like, is there anywhere else to take these instruments that we haven't thought of yet? Like, is something else going to come out where people are like, oh yeah, we can get like a new sound, a new wave? And I don't know. It's hard to, wrap your head around that until somebody does it. But it just doesn't seem like, it seems like we've explored instruments pretty thoroughly at this point.
I think you're seeing the merging of instruments with technology.
Right. Yeah.
That's what it is. That's where it's heading. And it's more digital, more
produced,
technology, focus. There's a difference of the sense of the instrument. And I think even the separation, or the, maybe separation is not the best word, but just how defined the genres were at some point in history. Even artists sticked with their genre of music, and they crafted that style of music because that was their genre. And now I feel like there's a crossover. So you have artists that,
like
back
Beyonce
and forth,
doing country,
that they only did pop, that they only do ballads or that kind of music. Sure. And then you have rock and roll, and it's only like hardcore, only rock and roll. So if you blurred those lines, and then everybody makes music no matter what the genre is, I feel like you do lose a certain sense of artistry. Now I'm all for it. Everybody can make all kinds of music. Everybody can sing any genre of music that they please and they want. I get it. It's okay. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. However, I do feel like, again, you lose a little bit of genuineness, or
the other thing is, I think with the way that culture is today, everything is so fast paced, and you have to like kind of jump on the moving train as it's moving. So I think that a lot of artists, obviously not everybody, but I think there's a lot of artists in the mainstream that they kind of look at it like a cash grab, and it's like, let me do as much as I can, make as much as I can while I can. And we have just like the whole trend culture, like with trends that go on, where if you can jump on a trend early enough and quick enough, or if you can be a trendsetter, but it's not going to last very long because people have shorter attention spans, and people move on quickly. And part of that is because of attention span, but part of it is also just because there's so much to focus on. That's why we can be devastated by a news story today and completely forget about it tomorrow. Because there's
not even
50
tomorrow,
other things filling the news feed.
In an hour.
You know what's so crazy? This is what's so crazy. As we're scrolling through on our phones, we can see, which I don't do this, but a lot of people do. Like, you can look at murder on your on social media. Like, you can look at, just ridiculous reels, like you can look at things that are horrifying, things that are really disturbing, and then you just scroll past it, and then you're looking at a puppy, and then you're looking at, you know what I mean? Like, there's so much crazy stuff that comes into our minds, and it does affect us, but we're past it so quickly that I think we don't know to what extent it's affecting us. And like, this is one of the things that I think we as parents, for sure, we need to be aware of to protect our kids from. Because if you're a child, and let's say you're 13, 14 years old, and your friends are sharing stuff in your text group or whatever, and they're just sharing the most like absurd things that they can find, and some of it is, you can literally watch people on social media, like you watch people getting shot in the head, watch people, you can see car accidents, you can see people getting run over by cars, falling off, like, like you can just see stuff that's insane, that maybe as a kid, as a teenager, you're like, oh man, like that was crazy. And then there's a little bit of an adrenaline rush with just seeing something like that, and so maybe you gravitate more toward it, and then the algorithm starts to work against you to show you more content that's similar. And before you know it, you can just become so desensitized to violence and to different kinds of things like that. Not even getting into the others, like the pornography issue and all that kind of stuff. Just how tangible this stuff is, or how readily available it is at our fingertips. And I think as parents, for sure, we've got to be mindful of that, because it's just so easy when they have phones and tablets and whatever without parental, locks and restrictions. And then some kids know how to get past that stuff anyway. It's like, I just don't think, we don't know yet. And they're probably going to do studies, 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years from now. There's going to be some real studies that are going to be similar to, it's going to be similar to, like, for a long time, people were smoking cigarettes. For a long time, people were doing cocaine. Like, people were doing, like all kinds of things that were harmful, but it was socially acceptable and nobody knew that it was harmful. And even when they started to discover that it was harmful, they hid it because it was a cash grab. Yeah. And something similar to that, to like what happened with cigarettes years ago, I think something similar to that is happening now with social media, and we're starting to recognize how dangerous it is. So they create detox camps where you go and you don't have a phone for a week, and they have things like, we know that it's detrimental, but we don't know to what extent. You know what I mean? And it's going to take a little bit of time to find out what the long-term impacts are that we're having, especially on the Gen Alpha and the younger generation that has grown up their whole life with this stuff, and what the long-term effects are actually going to be. We don't know that, and by the time we find out, it's going to be too late in a sense.
How many people have been affected by it? Yeah. There have been studies, and they are showing studies of how, on one sense, it's been said that we're producing a generation of addicts without knowing that they're addicts, but we're condoning it, because the addiction is not, like you say, it's not alcohol, it's not cigarettes, there's an addiction to information, rapid information. It's an addiction to being on screen. It's something real that is happening in our families. It's something real that is present in our lives, and we need to know how to be prepared, and we need to know what to do in order to not be a victim of it, because there is a really big danger. And I heard the phrase, people are developing popcorn brain. So now there's also studies that are showing that our hormones, are like the serotonin and like the processes of even our body, like technology is affecting not just our mind, but our body, the way our body reacts to the content that we're seeing, how it's just, there's just so much in it. And I think that a lot of times we don't recognize that it's a small distraction from something else. I recognize that our kids do not have the ability, unless we equip them to have the ability to maturely deal with what happens with that information constantly revolving and processing. And I mean, it's a lot of information, and your mind doesn't even capably process it completely.
Sure.
You see it like quickly, those reels are like 20 seconds, like 40 seconds, 1 minute, like it's not. But all that stuff is being stored somewhere. It's being stored in your subconscious. It's being stored somewhere. And some things, the enemy used those things to pull at the strings of your heart. And it does pull you in to those areas where maybe you have open doors for certain things. And there is that danger. It's something that we definitely have to be aware of. And we cannot just sit and stay still. Like even supervision. So I think at the beginning of this whole access to technology, because I think a lot of it has to do with how accessible it is. It used to be that devices were expensive, phones were expensive. I mean, they're expensive now, but they have become more available.
Sure.
there's ways to get your hands on it in a more available way.
Sure.
So now some of these devices are easily affordable. I mean, I don't want to sound mean, but now even homeless people have smartphones.
Sure.
They have Facebook. They might not own a home. They might not have a stable job, but they got a phone. They got social media. They're going to live stream in the street.
Right.
Somewhere along the lines, the accessibility to these things has been beneficial, but yet what's on the other side?
Yeah, exactly. It's a different kind of addiction, I think, in that it's integrated into almost everybody's life, and it's very helpful. And there's aspects of it that are absolutely okay. And so it's kind of like, I don't know if this is going to connect or not, correlate, but in my mind, food. So food is one of those things that a lot of people are addicted to.
Mm-hmm.
We get very easy to get addicted to sugar and to, different kinds of food that are bad for you. And it's a very, very tough addiction to break because we have to eat. We need food. If you try to break your food addiction, you can absolutely do that, but you still have to eat food. And so there's this aspect of social media, an aspect of our digital technology where it's very, very addictive. It's designed to be addictive. That's why Facebook created the unlimited scroll feature, because they knew that it would be the most addictive way to keep people engaged on the platform. That's why they've done so many of the things that they've done. They've tweaked the algorithms the way they've tweaked them. It's why they've done these things, because they know that it's addictive, and because the human being engaging in the technology, engaging in the content is their product.
Yeah.
Their product is not Facebook. Their product is you on Facebook, because it's about data. It's about, how much data they can store and collect and sell to other people. So there's aspects about it that are very, very like, you're being exploited while you're doing it, but you do it anyway. But it's so integrated into all of our lives that, we use it for ministry, we use it for work, we use it for everything, just about. So there's aspects about it that are very good and they're very helpful. There's aspects of it that it'd be very, very difficult to disconnect our life from, but at the same time, it's very, very addictive. And so it's kind of it's a different type of thing. It can be very, very, it's proven to be very, very tricky for us to navigate this. Because I think it's a fine line between, using it for profit, for your own good, and becoming addicted and being sucked into it. And, anybody, because this stuff is just so accessible. It's so right there all the time. Anybody can take a wrong turn on the internet and end up going down a rabbit trail that's going to have some kind of a detrimental effect on them. Sometimes it's not even something they sought out. It's something that came in, and then, they made the decision to engage with it. So we can't blame the technology for me I can't blame the technology for me engaging with something that I shouldn't have. But we do know that there are aspects of this that are designed to kind of, prey upon people's sensibilities and, different things that they think are going to spark engagement. So it's just I think a unique form of an addiction that's out there, because it's so connected to our lives that it's not like we can easily anyway if you want to get away from technology, you've got to become one of these people that's like a prepper living off the grid somewhere. If you want to be completely disconnected from it, it's just not realistic for a lot of people.
Yeah, I think we have to be prayerful about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I go back and forth, like, with in my mind with God about this, because a big part of me is like, I don't I don't want to see certain things developed in my children's lives as a result of that exposure. Yet I understand that there's a purpose for them, and that there's where God wants to take them, there might be something that they need. And like you said, it's integrated in their everyday lives, it's integrated in their school, it's integrated in their interactions, how, people socialize these days. I definitely feel that we can surrender our rights to it. I don't know if that's the best way of saying it, but I cannot surrender my right as a parent to educate my child and nurture my child to a device,
right,
to TV, to social media. Because at the end of the day, that's just something that entertains. It's not really, it's not giving my child a foundation for having the right belief system or morality or understand right and wrong. All these things need to be modeled. They need to be taught. They need to be repeatedly shown and demonstrated. And it's not through a screen.
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah.
And at the same time, as parents, we have to ask ourselves the question of, am I really taking on my responsibility to parent and nurture and set up the right foundation for my children? Or am I going the easy way and allowing other things to take the place that it's supposed to be my position and it's supposed to be me taking care of those things because of inconvenience?
Right.
Because it's easy.
Yeah.
It's easy to come home from work tired. You don't want to have to deal with running, screaming children and everything. And you just want to come home and you want to unplug yourself. Right. You want to do, but how do you unplug? You go back to the phone.
Yeah.
So we modeled that a lot for them, and we don't recognize that we're modeling that. Yeah. So again, it's a ongoing conversation that we need to have with the Lord, that we need to have with each other, that we need to have in our families, and recognize that we can give ground.
Yeah.
And we cannot relinquish our rights to making decisions that are not influenced out of that access of information, but that we actually build or help raise a person and not a zombie.
Yeah.
Not somebody who's so desensitized, like you say, of things that are happening around them, or so desensitized of reality because their reality is here. That's what's more real to them. The things that are happening, the video games, the walkthrough, the drama in the show.
Right.
That is more the reality than what's happening face to face, what's happening in front of them. So heavy.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we're gonna wrap this one up because I've got to go to work. But I wanted to point something out. We haven't done any product drops or mentions yet, but I just thought about this. I just feel like I wanted to do this today. I want to tell you guys about an awesome book on worship. It's called The Intimacy of Worship, written by this lady right here.
Why are you doing this? Wow. Really?
There might even be a foreword in it from her husband.
From yours truly.
So, yeah, but I really, really recommend this. It's The Intimacy of Worship, Turning the Affections of Your Heart Toward God. It's available on Amazon. It's on our church website. It's on my website, simplepowermedia.com. I think it should still be up there. But I'll leave a link to it for just to make it easy for you in the show notes of the podcast. But check it out. It's an awesome. I mean, I know I'm biased, but it is a really, really great book that it takes developing a lifestyle of intimacy with the Lord from a perspective that you maybe haven't seen before. So strongly recommend it. Anybody who's looking to just grow in their walk with the Lord. And ba-bam, it's available in Spanish too. La intimidad de la adoración. So we'll leave links for those in the show notes, but check it out. This podcast brought to you by. Yeah. So anything else? Wrap this one up.
Sure.
I almost said change your thinking, change your life. It's our church motto. Anyway, we love you guys. Appreciate you for joining us.
Thanks for stopping by today. Yeah.
Maybe you need a little social media detox today or something like that. Come back and join us again. And don't forget to comment, review, like, rating, all that stuff. Appreciate you guys. And we'll see you next time.
See you next time.